The one that I remember is the ship catching on fire.
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's fairly common. So yeah, so
Okay.
basically, the ship that I was on, and this is, I knew other crew members who'd been on other ships who had actually had worse fire situations. But the ship that I was on, the incinerator, because they burn all their own garbage, so they have an incinerator, and the incinerator somehow, I think the chimney caught light, and then it caught light to the room next door, like there was a storage locker or something. And so basically, what they do is uh, all the crew then have to go to emergency stations. And this, I had only been on the ship for a couple of weeks. And the other thing on cruise ships is that the crew drink a lot. And although like the basically the law on ships is you have to be drink drive limit. So if you're over drink drive limit, then you can get thrown off the ship. But largely they don't. Um, they kind of like just ignore it a little unless someone is obviously like being too rowdy, being aggressive, whatever, and then they'll like breathalyze them, and then those people kind of get disembarked. But anyway, I'd only been on for a couple of weeks, and I was absolutely hammered because I was like, because the crew bar on ships is like 70 cents a beer, and so we had been drinking a lot. And anyway, they called us to emergency stations, and so we're all standing there at like 2 in the morning with the ship on fire, and I'm standing on the back of the ship with like a life jacket on, just like total panic because I'm like, is this ship gonna sink? But then I'm also drunk, so I'm also like, if passengers need to be like assisted in like getting into lifeboats, like I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. But yeah, it's just yeah, there was a lot of occasions. There was another occasion with that ship. Oh no, the second ship I was on where and again, I probably should be telling these, but I mean, no one on cruise ships is going to be listening to this story.
This is
Yeah.
actually sponsored by Expedia cruise ships.
But yeah,
Thank
we
you,
were.
Viking Cruises, for
That's our segue into our sponsorship.
That'd be amazing. Cruise with us.
yeah.
But yeah, we were on the ship and we were all again like partying at like midnight or like 2 in the morning, and we're on the crew deck was on the front of the ship, so we'd always kind of like hang out there and drink. And the ship like ran. Like, we were in the Amazon. The ship like did this like giant lurch forward, and then like you could hear the engines like just go like high speed, and then just like lurch back off. And so then the next morning, I asked one of the officers on the ship, I'm like, "What happened in the middle of the night?" And he's like nothing. Like, we were like, "What do you know?" And then basically what had happened is we had like hit a small island in the middle of the night. Like the Amazon, the
Oh my
river
god.
moves so much that these giant islands would just like be like 2 miles over from where they were the year before. And so they have all these like navigation maps, but often they're incorrect. And so they'll like bring in local pilots, and then they'll also have so there'll be like two local pilots and two ship pilots. And so they're all like basically concentrating on how to get this thing out the Amazon, but often they get it, well, not too often, hopefully, but they get it wrong. So yeah, we just beached it in the middle of the night, and then like basically they got it back off. But he said they were like, close to it being like a major issue, but because they went slowly and they like solved it, it was fine. But yeah, it's crazy. Cruise ships are like, I don't know, I would never go on a cruise ship now after having worked on one. But yeah, don't
Yeah,
cruise.
yeah, I've always kind of thought of like it's interesting. A cruise was always something that when I was younger I looked at and be like, oh my god, this like it's a city on a boat. That's so cool. And then as I got older, like I just never heard anything good. I just never heard anything good about cruises at all.
Yeah.
So I've completely changed except like I just meant those kind of like Viking river cruises because those are a little bit kind of like bougier in a sense where it's
More tame.
yeah, a little
Yeah.
more tame. So I wonder if those would be interesting. But
I
yeah,
think it's that, to be honest, at that time it was an amazing way for me to see so much of the world. Because I mean, that cruise with the
yeah,
Amazon, we left the UK, we went to the Caribbean, we went up the Amazon to Manaus, which is like, if you look on a map, it's right in the center of South America. It's crazy. And then we went all the way down to Antarctica, like all the way up through the Chilean fjords, like Panama Canal. And so to like see all those places and to like experience it was incredible. It was fun, but it was just the chaos of the cruise industry. They're also, I mean, they're so bad for the environment. That's on so many levels.
Hmm.
Like they don't stick to laws when they're at sea, so they like pollute heavily. And I mean, even with things like the pandemic, like now, I think anyone who cruises after the pandemic, like there was all those ships that were like off the coast of, I think it was like Florida or somewhere during the pandemic, and they weren't allowed to dock because they had COVID. And so there
yeah,
was like people stuck on ships for like a month, and Yeah, I don't know. I feel like even more so now, I would never go near one.